Hello, third graders. So yesterday we worked through an organizer, and you worked through an organizer after you watched this video. But the organizer that we worked on through this video was, do you think teaching online or in-school face-to-face teaching is more beneficial? Be sure to state your opinion, provide 3 reasons along with an example for each of your reasons in a concluding paragraph. So our learning target today is really being able to, I can draft a opinion essay using an organizer. So our success criteria is by the time you're finished today, you should have I can create an opinion essay with at least 5 paragraphs where I've indented at the beginning of each paragraph and I have stated my reasons and examples to support my opinion. So you have already brainstormed all of your ideas. Yesterday we brainstormed ideas, or I brainstormed ideas for whether I felt like teaching online or teaching face-to-face in school is the most beneficial. So I'm going to take all the information on this organizer and I'm going to start putting it in an essay type of format. Now, when you go to your second slide, it says Wednesday work, and then my prompt says, do you think teaching online or in-school face-to-face teaching is more beneficial? Be sure to state your opinion, provide 3 reasons along with an example for each of your reasons in a concluding paragraph. You brainstormed your ideas in the previous slide. We've been practicing writing using multiple paragraphs. Use the organizer in the previous slide to help you write your essay in the following slide. Be sure to use transition words in your response. If you've forgotten what transition words to use, examples have been provided for you in the 5th slide. I've color-coded your paragraphs in the organizer on the previous slide to help you with organizing your essay. Please don't forget to indent each of your paragraphs. If you notice on the organizer, there was like a red box, an orange box, a green box, a blue box, and a purple box. So let's take a look at that. Red, orange, green, blue, and purple. Those are your 5 paragraphs. So literally, here's your first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, 4th paragraph, and 5th paragraph. Yesterday, you weren't asked to write in sentences, so you're going to take this information and put it into, sentences that would make paragraphs. So I'm going to move on to where I'm going to do my typing, and I'm going to reread my prompt one more time to make sure I understand my prompt. Do you think teaching online or in-school face-to-face teaching is more beneficial? Be sure to state your opinion, provide 3 reasons along with an example for each of your reasons in a concluding paragraph. And then here it says it again, red, paragraph 1, orange, paragraph 2, etc. No, you do not need to change the font color of your paragraphs to match above. The colors above connect to your web organizer on the first slide. So if you want to change the font colors, you can, but you really don't have to do that piece. So I'm going to come back here to my first paragraph, which is the red. In my opinion, teaching face-to-face in school is more beneficial for learners than teaching online. Now, we've talked about the importance, too, of having some kind of introduction. And so, we've also talked about how your introduction is like, what are you going to do to hook your reader? So it could be a question. It could be like a statement. So I'm going to hit the tab button, and the tab button is what helps, makes your paragraph become indented. And I'm going to say, I'm actually going to hook and when I'm thinking about my audience, I'm thinking about how you guys are kind of my audience. So I'm going to think of a way to kind of hook you. So what I'm going to say in hook means like motivate you to read the rest of my writing piece. So what I'm going to say is, do you enjoy learning from home, or do you miss going to school? Going to school and learning with your peers. And you and I have talked about what peers are, the people who are your same age. Oops, I need a question mark. So now so I have this way to hook you. Do you enjoy learning from home, or do you miss going to school and learning with your peers? And I'm going to come back to my prompt. In my opinion, teaching face-to-face school is more beneficial for learners than teaching online. And then I'll go back to my essay again. Do you enjoy learning from home, or do you miss going to school and learning with your peers? And I'm also going to ask a second question that leads into my opinion. I'm going to say something like, where do you feel, which environment do you feel like you learn the most in? Which environment do you feel like you learn the most in? Gosh, that sounds kind of awkward. Okay, what if I say, which learning environment do you prefer? Environment do you prefer? And now I'm going to go into what my opinion is to which one I prefer to teach in. So in my opinion, teaching face-to-face in school is more beneficial for learners than teaching online. Okay. So in my opinion, comma, teaching face-to-face is more beneficial than teaching online. There's my first paragraph. That's paragraph 1. We've talked about how a paragraph doesn't have to need to be really a certain number of sentences. It's good to have it maybe at least 3 sentences, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just 2 sentences for your first paragraph. So I'm going to back up and reread to make sure I understand what my first paragraph is or says. Do you enjoy learning from home, or do you miss going to school and learning with your peers? Which learning environment do you prefer? In my opinion, teaching face-to-face is more beneficial than teaching online. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the enter button because I'm going to move to my second paragraph, and I'm going to hit the tab button. Now I'm in my second paragraph. So looking at how my paragraphs are organized, red is paragraph 1, orange is paragraph 2. So I'm going to go to orange, and these 2 things I'm going to make sure I'm including in my second paragraph. So I know that you are able to hear my feedback in person, and I can give constructive feedback in math group. So I'm actually going to go down here to my transition words to give me some ideas. This is kind of thought of as your first, these are transition or linking words for your first paragraph. Now we're moving into our second paragraph, which would be our first reason. So I might say I'm thinking to start. Yeah, I think I'm going to say to start. Let me say that one. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go down to my next paragraph, hit the tab button. To start, and then what was I going to say? Let me go back to my reason. I know that you're able to hear my feedback in person. Okay, to start, giving feedback is one way that learners' brains can grow. Feedback is how being given feedback is how we get stronger in a content area. When we are face-to-face, I'm able to give you feedback in person, and I can see by the way you respond, or no, not you. I can see by the way the student responds if he or she understands the feedback I'm providing. So instead of saying you, I'm going to say, the learner or the student. When we are face-to-face, I'm able to give the learner feedback in person, and I can see by the way the student responds if he or she understands the feedback I'm providing. When students are learning from home through the computer, I don't know for sure that okay, so maybe I should say when a student is learning from home through the computer, when a student is learning, and notice how I have to keep going back as I'm writing and like revising things when they don't sound right. That's what good writers do. You don't have to just go straight through and say, well, I got to stay with that because that's, you know, how I wrote it the first time. No, great writers are always revising, reading it back to themselves, making sure that it makes sense and it sounds right. And if it doesn't, they're fixing it. So when a student is learning from home through the computer, I don't know for sure that he or she sees my comments or my feedback. And I don't know if the learner understands the feedback I'm providing. When we are in person, I'm going to take that part out. So I just gave my reason. Now, looking at this organizer, here's my reason. Now it's time to give an example of what I'm saying. So I gave the example of giving feedback in MathGrip. I'm going to look at some of my linking words for examples that I don't want to say for example, the whole time in my writing, because then it sounds like a robot's writing it rather than a person, you know, and you want to keep it sounding interesting too. So here's for example, for instance, in particular, specifically, additionally, in other words, in fact, an example is. So I'm going to say, for example, this one time, but I'm going to make sure that anytime I give examples later that I try to switch it up with other words. So, whoops, I'm going to come back here. Now, because I'm giving an example for that reason, I'm still in the same paragraph. See, I'm still in, this is paragraph number 1. Here's paragraph number 2. So the example I'm giving is in paragraph number 2. So let me come back to this. I'm just going to add on to this paragraph, and I'm going to say, for example, when I notice a learner having difficulty understanding a math concept in group, I can give feedback. To the learner that can help push them forward with their understanding. Push him or her forward with his or her understanding. Now, I'm going to make sure that I'm giving both sides. So I just gave an example from group about how, you know, it is helpful to be face-to-face, but I'm also going to give an example from the computer. When the student is providing, when the student has turned in work through the computer, and I've noticed him or her having difficulty with a concept, and I'm noticing I'm running out of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over here to the next slide, and I'm going to continue right here. With a concept, I can give them feedback through the document, but I won't know for sure if they've seen the feedback. I won't know for sure if him or her has seen the feedback. So there's my example of how, you know, what it looks like face-to-face and what it looks like at home. Now, I've just given my reason, my first reason, my example. Now I'm going to move on to my second reason example, which means I have a new paragraph. So I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to come down here to my linking words, and I'm going to use one of these. So I'm going to say another reason is, right here, another reason is, comma, but I'm going to stop here. So this gives you an idea of what it looks like to use your organizer and to create paragraphs as you're using it. I should see indents in your multiple paragraphs. All right, learners, happy writing, and I will be sure to give you feedback through this.